This is the Mahindra Scorpio, and here are the top 10 good and bad things about it, in my opinion. Specifically, we're looking at the top of the range model called the Z8L. Starting with the good, I'll count them down as well. Number 10, nice proportions. So by that I mean it is a decent design. It's designed in part by Pininfarina, and they certainly know what they're doing when it comes to design. But it's just very neat and easy to manage. So parking, visibility and everything is all very easy to manage. It's not too big and cumbersome like some of the rivals, but at the same time it is big enough to accommodate adults. It definitely looks distinctive as well. Number 9. LED lights. So this has got LED headlights and tail lights and daytime running lights down there. That doesn't sound like such a big deal, but you'll be surprised some rivals don't have full LED lighting front and back. But also keep in mind this vehicle's price, which we'll get to later. But this is pretty much the most affordable ladder frame style SUV, 4x4 SUV on the market. Number 8, unique 6-seat layout. So this version, being the top of the range model, comes with 2 captain chairs or captain style chairs in the back. And that is very unique for this class. It just means the rear passengers get their own sort of comfort and luxury experience. It's a very unique concept for this class. If you've got a family of 4 and you don't necessarily need that middle seat, it is more comfortable having the 2 individual seats, and it also has 2 extra seats in the back if you need to pick up the kids' friends or something from school. Number 7, great visibility including the rear passengers. In the back here, you actually sit quite high, almost to the point where you sit higher than the front passengers. That's my head position right there, and I can see over the top of the headrests. That's pretty cool. And then if you shut the door, that windowsill is quite low, so you can see out the window very, very easily. And that's good for the kids because it means they're not claustrophobic back here and they're less likely to become car sick. Number 6, Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. It doesn't sound like a big deal compared with some of the rivals, but considering this is at the lower end of the price bracket for this class, I think having both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay is a good feature. I'm not saying it's class leading, but it is good to have that nonetheless. Number 5, relatively smooth and refined engine and noise. Some of the rivals, such as the Pajero Sport and the Isuzu MU-X, do clatter a bit in my opinion, especially the MU-X, but it does have a large capacity engine, so it kind of gets away with it a bit. Whereas this, it sounds pretty refined. There's just an initial little clatter, very fine clatter. It's not a loud and deep clatter. But after that, it's just a sort of free revving hum. Number 4, simplicity. Yeah, this is a very user-friendly vehicle. Anybody could drive this without, getting confused about any of the controls or anything. It's all laid out very logically. It's got the volume buttons on the steering wheel, cruise control on the right, climate control on a separate panel. It's not hidden within the touchscreen, and then your main drive options down here, like your stop start, you can turn that off easily. You can even activate the external camera system. It's not a complete surround view camera, but it does have side views and kind of front view as well, front corner view. Number 2, off-road preparation. This does feature a low range system as well as a number of driving modes there, promising at least reasonable off-road performance definitely compared with a crossover, but certainly at least at similar level to some of the other ladder frame style 4-wheel drives. Number 2, ladder frame platform with a live axle rear end. So this is a proper off-roader, it's not just a crossover. And it does come with low range, which means you'll be able to go off-road more so than you can in any crossover. It does have decent ground clearance and big balloony tyres as well. And then the number one good thing about the Mahindra Scorpio has got to be the price. This starts from $41,990, or the top model that we have here is $44,990. That's an incredibly low price compared with the current rivals. It's also covered by a factory 7-year warranty, 150,000 kilometers, beating most of the rivals. Kia does offer a 7-year warranty as well and unlimited kilometers, but that's with the Sorento, which is not quite the same as this. It is still classed as a large SUV, but this is a, as I said, proper ladder frame style SUV. And then Mitsubishi, of course, wins the lot with 10 years, but with Mahindra offering 7, it's the second from the top of the class. Okay, so that's all of the good aspects to the Mahindra. What about the bad? And in number 10, I've got here that it's a small brand. Mahindra is a very small brand, which means it's going to have a small dealer network. So it could cause some problems in terms of servicing or even being able to get your hands on one of these, depending on where you live. It is part of a huge international group. It's just that the brand in Australia is still quite small. Number 9, question marks over build quality in some areas. So on this particular model, I've just noticed that the side step moves around quite a bit. It's not actually bolted down, but that could be due to a previous journalist. In fact, probably is got to do with a previous journalist taking it too far off-road and actually breaking the side step. But then inside, the brake pedal does move around quite a lot. I think that's too much movement for what is really a critical component. It's hard for me to comment on long-term reliability, so I'm not going to say anything there, but that's just two things that I've noticed in the short time that I've been driving the car. Number 8, USB-C in the back, but not in the front. Yeah, so in the front, it's got conventional USB ports, 2 of them, to be precise. And it's also got a wireless charger. This top spec model does. Wireless phone charger. But then in the back, you've just got one USB-C port. So this is the more modern port style. It is a bit quicker in terms of charging. But why not have a a conventional USB in the back here as well, or put the 2 USB-Cs in the front and then have a normal USB at the back. It's obviously not a major deal, but it's just a little thing that I've noticed, and some rivals are starting to provide a good variety of charging options, even for the rear passengers. And I guess it's even more important for a vehicle like this, which is a family vehicle, so it is going to be carrying rear passengers a lot of the time. Number 7, auto stop-start confusion. So I'm going to have to demonstrate this, but basically if you're driving along like I was last night, you pull up to a set of lights and you decide, I don't want the stop-start to be on anymore because the engine just cut out. You hit the button, it'll turn it off, but the engine stays off. And then when you release the brake pedal, the engine doesn't start back up again. Or it didn't for me, so I had to put it back into park. I did this a couple of times just to make sure. But you cannot, well, it doesn't seem like you can deactivate stop start when it's already activated and already cut the engine. So if you push the button, it won't start the engine back up, which is quite strange. It's currently on. If I pull up, say it's stopping at the lights or a stop sign, the engine turns off as it should. And if I change my mind and say, well, I don't want stop start on anymore, turn it off, I've still got my foot on the brake, it should start the engine right now because I've just turned it off. But anyway, if I take my foot off the brake, it should definitely start the engine now, but it doesn't. So I put my foot on the accelerator, it's just sitting here. So what I've got to do is put it back into park and start the engine again. This happened to me the other night while I was at the traffic lights with people blasting their horn behind me. Just a little bit of fine tuning I think is needed there. Number 6. Choppy ride, doesn't handle corrugated roads as good as some rivals. Yeah, so where I live a little bit out of the city, and there are a lot of bad, poorly surfaced roads. And I've noticed that this vehicle does bounce around and it kind of bump steers a little bit. So in other words, it will, if you hit some bumps and the suspension goes up and down, I'll do that again for you. The wheels will actually bounce and you'll move lane slightly. And I think that's because the suspension is just not quite fine-tuned for those types of conditions. Mahindra did do some local testing with this vehicle before it went on sale here, but yeah, I think it just needs a bit more fine-tuning. Again, with that live axle rear end, that doesn't help in terms of on-road refinement, as well as in the rivals as well. But even the rivals that I have driven that have a ladder frame platform like this, over the same bit of road with the potholes and everything all over it, they seem to be more stable and more planted compared with this. Number 5, steering is quick but feels rudimentary. Yeah, so the steering rack does turn in pretty quickly. So it's surprising how quickly it will turn in, especially compared with the Pajero Sport, which is notorious for its long travel sort of steering system. So in other words, you've got to turn the wheel many rotations before you achieve full lock. Whereas this, it seems like you can turn it just a little bit and you'll get quite a bit of lock happening. That's all good for a sports car, but for a vehicle like this, you don't really want that type of setup, especially if you're doing some intricate off-roading. But it is a very basic feeling steering system as well. It feels mechanical, I'll give it that. But yeah, it doesn't have any sort of moments where you know when the steering is loading up or anything like that. You can't feel much communication coming through the wheel. I don't know if it's understeering or if it's going to oversteer. Kind of, you can, but it's just not as communicative as some of the rival systems. Number 4, no surround view camera, but has front cameras. A top of the range model in this class, a lot of them are starting to appear with surround view cameras as standard. I think they're really important, just like a rear view camera. The technology is here, it's readily available. It's not like it's something very unique, it's just an extra 2 cameras on the side mirrors, and they give you a sort of a bird's eye view, whereas this doesn't have that. With big SUVs like this, I think it's particularly important because you don't know where the kids are running around, or even pets and so on. With a big car like this, it's hard to, judge where you are on the driveway exactly. There is a front view camera, and you can kind of get a side view as well. But if you put it into reverse, just close the door, it just has a basic rear view camera. It does have a lot of lines and things going on, so you know where to go. But yeah, again, it would be better just to have a top view camera style system. Number 3, side hinged tailgate. Yeah, so this is going to cause some problems for some people, whereas others, they probably won't mind. But basically, the door opens right up like that, which can mean that it's pretty hard to open the door in tight spaces, but also it means when it's raining, you don't have that shelter of the tailgate lifting right up. For me, I would rather have an upswinging tailgate, conventional tailgate, simply because it provides the shelter in the rain. But also, if you're unloading things and you need to walk around this way, you've got to walk all the way around every single time. And it's just a bit, I don't know, it's a bit annoying. It also means you can't reverse back very far either. So if you're on the street and there's a car parked just here somewhere, you've got to have a big gap to allow for that tailgate to open. But when it's an upswinging one, you can park a lot closer, or reverse back a lot closer. Number 2, while we're back here actually, third row is very tight and doesn't fold up neatly. This does feature 2 rear seats in the back, but it is just one solid bench. So in order to fold it forward, you're just going to pull this strap, easily pull this strap, and then pull this other strap down here, and the whole thing flips up. It is a bit of an effort, but it doesn't leave much space. It'll be better if that folded down into the floor, or better yet, if it was split in half, so you could fold one out of the way and still have one there. It's just not a very practical solution to a 7-seater. I have seen better options in this class. And then also, the room in the back is not very good. Look at that, you've got, it actually almost hits the tailgate there, but it doesn't leave much boot space. And the legroom in the back, I have sat in the back there, and I found the floor is quite high because of the wheel arch underneath, but it pushes your knees right up high, and it just, yeah, it's not comfortable for adults, but it's totally fine for kids, and headroom is actually really, really good. And then number 1, the worst thing about this vehicle, in my opinion, is the engine is low on power and performance is also quite poor. It's a 2.2 litre turbo diesel 4-cylinder producing 129 kilowatts and 400 newton meters, which is, yeah, at the lower end of the class. In fact, I don't think there's any SUV in this class that produces less power. I know power isn't everything, it's certainly not with a vehicle like this, but it is a bad thing. You can't say that that's a good thing, having low power, especially when the rivals are all producing a lot more. The standard these days is about 150 kilowatts and 500 newton meters. This does weigh a lot less than some of the rivals just because it is quite sort of simple. But yeah, I have timed 0 to 100 in high 11 seconds, which is pretty slow. There are some rivals that have achieved similar times as well, so I can't really, say that this is the slowest. But yeah, that is very low down, but also the torque, 400 newton meters, is quite low as well. If you fill this thing up with passengers and tow something as well, you're going to be really struggling to get up long, steep hills. Again, compared with those rivals. But keep in mind, this vehicle is very affordable, so you do have to give it some leeway. So there you have it, guys. Top 10 good and bad of the new Mahindra Scorpio. What do you think? Have I missed something? Please comment and let me know. Perhaps you own one of these and you've found something that's really good about it that I've missed, or you've owned one of these for a while and you've found something that's really annoying or just straight out not good enough. Please let me know in the comments, and please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.